Was there anybody else that jumped out to you in the win-loss totals?
The one that jumps out to me because of the way we went over their schedule last year was the Chicago Bears at 7.5. I don't even think there's a possibility they can get to 7.5.
They have 4 primetime games this year.
Yeah, these. I just don't see their defense being what it was, and I don't know. See, the weird thing about the Bears is they're always going to be a team to me that can go 5-12 or 12-5.
Right.
You know what I mean? But not this year. They have
this year.
The third hardest schedule in the entire league this year. Their strength of schedule is 3 this year right now. Their opponents' records were 149, 122, and 1 last year.
The thing that always kept the Bears in games was their defense. I mean, a good pass rush will neutralize anyone. Like, you can be in any game in the NFL with a good pass rush. That's why I'm so high on Washington, is because with Chase Young, as long as he's healthy, and the other pass rushers that they have around him, like, they're going to be in every game. So I think the same thing with the Bears. That's what always kept them in games. And, yeah, they might still have, Khalil Mack, but they lost a lot of guys that people aren't really talking about on that D-line.
Kyle Fuller.
They lost
Kyle Fuller in the
back end was huge.
In the back half. That's a nightmare.
So, you're either going with the Red Rocket, Andy Dalton, or a quarterback that everyone has said, he can be okay, but he has to develop first. You can't throw him out there week 1. So I don't really see a quick path to them really rolling off a couple wins in a row, which you have to do in the NFL to make the playoffs, to be in the mix. I just don't see it happening this year.
Here's something that I said last night on our schedule release show. When does Justin Fields become the starting quarterback of this team? Look at the schedule and tell me when they could legitimately do it.
Tank said week 1. I don't.
Here's the thing. As I've thought about it, it's week 1 or not at all.
Yeah.
That's your choices.
I don't know.
Those are your choices. But, here's the thing. The game after the bye week's the Baltimore Ravens. You want to trot Justin Fields out there for his first NFL action against the Ravens?
Negative.
Because that's a good way to see him get flattened like Wile E. Coyote.
Week 1's the Rams, though. Do you want him to go up against Aaron Donald in week 1?
That's the point. You can't put him in week 1 because, first of all, he's not ready to play. Second of all, you got Matt Nagy that's contending for his job. Now that I have the schedule in front of me, I can tie all of the Justin Fields things together.
Can you imagine, just for a second, sorry to cut you off there, but can you imagine after the trade up for Trubisky, they trade next year's first to go get Fields this year. They trot him out week 1, and Aaron Donald eats his lunch. 5 sacks, pushes the pocket. There is no pocket. He's running for his life. He looks terrible. Can you imagine the narrative that's going to be out there about the Bears and their front office and the way they've been trading up for quarterbacks and just completely crushing their careers?
There's literally, the way I look at it here is there is one little stretch of games, and it would be after week 1 against the Rams, and that just seems like really early to put them in after one game.
The Browns are week 3, though.
Where they play the Bengals, and then they play the Browns, but then they play the Lions and the Raiders after that. So that is a 4-game stretch where you play one really, really good defensive team, but you have that. But it seems,
which one are you talking about?
The Bears.
No. I know what team you're talking about. What stretch of the schedule are you talking about?
2, 3, 4, 5.
See, but
you're not going to not start a guy in week 1 and then throw him in week 2.
And that's what I was
that's
getting
stupid.
to. And that's what I was getting to. Is I was saying that's the only stretch I see on the whole schedule that would allow for you, but that is way too early to do it.
And by the way, in that stretch, you still have the Browns and the Raiders.
Yeah.
And guess what? You may not think they're good, in terms of the Raiders. You know what those two teams are going to do? Get after quarterbacks.
Yeah,
What's the biggest flaw of Justin Fields? He holds the fucking ball too long.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've looked up this schedule up and down. I have gone through this with a fine-tooth comb. There is one spot, and there's a massive problem with it.
Okay.
It's after the Cardinals game, or it's after the Lions game on Thanksgiving.
And then they would go to the Cardinals.
Then they would go to the Cardinals, and yes, you have to deal with J.J. Watt and you have to deal with Chandler Jones. Mm-hmm. I got news for you. Matt Nagy's not going to be the head coach of this team by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
If there's one thing I learned from the schedule release last night, Matt Nagy will not make it to Thanksgiving. Mark it down.
Is that Ryan Pace along with him, or is Ryan Pace kind of getting
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The GM's not going to be able to do anything on field during the season.
Yeah.
Ryan Pace will not make it to next year.
Yeah.
But in terms of things happening day to day, you got Matt Nagy will be fired before they play the Lions on Thanksgiving.
And they're going to be in the spotlight. Like all the normal teams you would think have, the 5 primetime games. Do you know who the 5 teams are that have 4 primetime games right under that top tier?
Yeah, I said something. I can't remember who I said.
I don't remember.
Go ahead.
Chicago Bears, Minnesota Vikings, Oakland Raiders, Buffalo Bills, Indianapolis Colts. Bills and Colts I can get with.
Yeah.
Why you would have the Bears, Vikings, and Raiders with 4 primetime games, I don't know. With all the narratives out there about these other teams, but I say that to say the Bears will be under scrutiny. They are going to be on primetime 4 different times this season, and everyone's going to have a close-up view of this experiment with Justin Fields. If Andy Dalton's doing terrible, they're going to be calling for Fields.
Yeah.
If Fields goes in, especially in the first month of the season where he's facing Myles Garrett, Aaron Donald, all
He's
these
not.
guys,
He's not.
I don't see a way they do that. But then, I mean, they don't have the easiest schedule. I mean, there's some tough pass rushers in here as I look throughout. I mean, towards the back end of the season, I could see, maybe week 12, week 13 getting in there. But
maybe after the Packers game, the Vikings, Seahawks, Giants, Vikings run, that may be the only thing.
I just hope Nagy and Pace don't put him in too early trying to save their job.
They're not. And that's what you just said is exactly why I condemned this pick when they made it. Because if they want to save their jobs, the best starting quarterback week 1 for the Chicago Bears is
Andy Dalton.
And it's not close.
No.
It's not even close. If you're trying to be as good as you can be right now, Andy Dalton's the right call. And I got news for you. If you start Justin Fields week 1, which I don't think is going to happen, I think if you play him at all this year, you don't have 2 consecutive games at any point against 2 teams that don't rush the passer well. You will flatten this kid in no time.
Yeah.
I have never been so sure Justin Fields is a bust as I am right now. Looking at the Bears schedule going, nope, not a snowball's chance in Atlanta that he is worth a shit against this, because there's 2 paths here. Either he starts too early and you're going to give him happy feet, which he already has, or he's going to sit on the sidelines and just have a camera in his face and have reporters in his face going, oh, when do you think you're going to get the job? And eventually he's going to say something stupid, and then he's going to have to learn a new system a year from now. That's the 2 alternatives.
We've already seen his terrible poker face. You saw him get drafted.
Oh, yeah.
My girlfriend doesn't know anything about football and said, oh, what's wrong with that guy? He looks real sad. What happened to him? I was like, he just got drafted by the Bears. It's the greatest day of his life.
Yeah, he realizes
he is depressed.
Yeah, he realizes that he just got drafted to quarterback Siberia.
Yeah. Right.
Robert Johnson asked in the comments, why didn't the Bears try to make a move for Jimmy G? This is something I wanted to talk about today anyway, since it is a no-homer Thursday. The Jimmy G thing was never happening.
Yeah,
he was never made available.
They knew they were going to take Trey Lance, it seems like, and they were saying, we're going to take Trey Lance, Jimmy G's going to be here. I don't even think they would have. There were some reports out there if they would have got a 1 from New England, they would have traded him. But I don't think they were coming off with a 1 anyways.
I don't doubt that. I mean, here's the thing, and this is something that gets lost in sports talk very often. There is a package that will get you any player in the NFL.
Yeah.
Straight up. If you come up with something stupid, if you tell the Kansas City Chiefs, we'll give you our next 10 ones for Pat Mahomes. Done.
Really?
Done. 100%. 100%. If you want to do something stupid that allows me to build my team for the next 20 years, cool.
While they pay Pat Mahomes $50 million a year.
Chuck G said something in the comments that I have to talk about. He said, I saw an interesting stat the other day. No Ohio State quarterbacks ever made the Pro Bowl. That's not true.
Tom Tupa.
1 quarterback did. It was Tom Tupa. And he made it as a punter. For my Jets.
You might have seen that stat from us, actually.
Yeah, I put that out.
We put that out.
Because I saw that and I laughed hysterically.
Yeah.